He sat alone in his small apartment, the hum of the city outside barely noticeable. His laptop glowed faintly in the dark, and he scrolled through endless videos, nothing catching his attention. Until a title appeared that made him pause. Press play, don't look away. Something about it felt different, unusual, as if it were meant for him alone. He hesitated, fingers hovering above the mouse, feeling a strange pull, a quiet whisper inside that said, "You need to watch this." The screen flickered as he clicked, and the video began. At first it looked normal, simple shapes, soft music, nothing threatening or strange. Yet, as the seconds passed, he noticed a peculiar feeling, a lightness in the air around him, a tiny shift in how the room felt. He blinked, and for a moment, the walls seemed to breathe, expanding and contracting ever so slightly. Shadows moved in ways they shouldn't, stretching longer, then shrinking back, like they were watching him as much as he was watching them. A chill ran down his spine, not from fear, but from awe, curiosity, and something deeper he couldn't name. The video showed a simple pattern of lights, pulsing slowly, and he realized he could almost feel them inside his chest, as if the rhythm of the shapes matched the rhythm of his heartbeat. Each pulse seemed to echo in his mind, drawing him in, making it impossible to look away. Suddenly, he saw a reflection in his laptop screen, not his own, but an older version of himself. Tired, hesitant, filled with doubts, the reflection smiled, and then it began to fade, as if the person he once was disappearing with every passing second. He shook his head, thinking it was just his imagination. But the feeling didn't leave. It grew stronger, almost magnetic, pulling his thoughts, his awareness, toward something he couldn't yet understand. A whisper of a question formed in his mind. What if this video is more than it seems? The lights on the screen shifted again, and now he noticed tiny changes in the room behind him. A mug slightly moved, a book he didn't remember placing in that spot. He frowned, trying to tell himself it was coincidence, but deep inside, he knew it wasn't. Something unseen was at work, something connected to him, watching him, responding to him. Time began to feel strange, stretched and bent, as if the clock on the wall ticked slower than usual. He felt a curious excitement mixed with fear, an urge to understand, to keep watching, but also a warning: don't turn away, don't close the laptop, keep your eyes open. Then a voice whispered, soft, almost too faint to hear, "The moment you press play, the old you begins to fade." His breath caught, and his heart raced. He wanted to laugh, to think it was a trick, yet he felt it deep in his bones, a truth that couldn't be ignored. He leaned closer, eyes glued to the screen, the room around him fading into darkness, leaving only the glow of the video and the strange energy it carried. He realized he had crossed a threshold, a point where nothing would ever feel the same again, and just as he was about to reach out to touch the screen, the lights pulsed one last time, brighter than ever, and everything went still, silent, leaving him in a moment suspended between what is, and what could be. He knew one thing for certain: there was no turning back now. The day after he watched the video, he woke up feeling different, not in body, but in mind. The world outside seemed sharper, brighter, more alive than before. Even the sounds of the city, distant horns, footsteps, birds, carried a new clarity he couldn't explain. He sat at his desk, trying to go through his usual routine, but everything felt off, or perhaps, for the first time, it felt real. He noticed his thoughts racing faster than usual, each one vivid, detailed, almost as if they were reaching out into the world, touching it, changing it. Small things began to happen that he couldn't ignore. A mug he left on the counter yesterday was now on the table, exactly aligned, though he didn't remember moving it. His phone buzzed with a message from a friend he hadn't spoken to in months. Right as he was thinking about them, he frowned, uneasy, trying to dismiss it. Yet a strange excitement began to grow. He remembered what the video whispered: the moment you press play, the old you begins to fade. Could it be true? Could a single video really start something like this? As he walked through his apartment, he noticed his reflection in the window, and it wasn't quite the same as before. The tired, hesitant expression was gone, replaced by a sense of alertness, focus, and curiosity. His eyes seemed brighter, his posture firmer, as if the old fears had loosened their grip. He tried to test it, deliberately thinking about something small, wishing for it to appear, A pen he had dropped yesterday suddenly rolled toward his hand, startling him. He laughed nervously, half in disbelief, half in wonder. "Am I imagining this?" he whispered. Over the next few hours, he realized he could influence small events in subtle ways, not by magic, not by forcing them, but simply by being aware, paying attention, focusing. The more he observed, the more the world seemed to respond. Bending slightly to his presence, he recalled fragments of conversations he had read online about the observer effect in quantum physics, how particles behave differently when observed. The idea now seemed more than theory, almost like a door opening to something bigger, a secret hiding in plain sight. He sat back, breathing slowly, trying to make sense of it. Something inside him, he was shifting, the feeling of old habits and doubts loosening, the fear of failure, the weight of regret, the endless self-criticism, all of it felt lighter, as if watching the video had unlocked a part of him he never knew existed. And yet, there was an edge to it, a warning. He couldn't look away from the changes. The pull was too strong, but a tiny voice inside whispered, "Keep watching carefully. Don't let the old you cling too tightly." He shivered, sensing that the shift was only beginning, and that the world around him was part of the lesson. By evening, reality itself seemed malleable, alive, waiting. He noticed colors deeper than before, sounds richer, even the air carrying a faint energy, subtle but undeniable. Every time he focused on something with clear attention, it changed slightly, respondent, existed differently than before. He leaned back in his chair, staring at the fading light outside, and wondered aloud, "Is this real, or am I dreaming?" But deep down, he knew the truth. Something extraordinary had begun, and there was no turning back. The old patterns were fading, and a new awareness was taking root. And in the quiet, he remembered the video's warning once more, soft but firm in his mind. The old you begins to fade. He felt a thrill of possibility and a shadow of fear, knowing that what comes next would challenge everything he thought he knew about himself. The next morning, he felt it again, that strange, quiet shift inside. His thoughts were no longer scattered or heavy with doubt, but clear, focused, as if some invisible weight had lifted. Yet, even with the clarity, the old self clung stubbornly, whispering familiar fears and warnings. He caught himself thinking about past mistakes, the regrets he had carried for years, and for a moment, the old him rose up, heavy and insistent. "You can't change, you'll fail again." But then he remembered the video, the words echoing softly in his mind. The old you begins to fade, and he felt a tiny spark of resistance against the old patterns as he moved through the day. He noticed the struggle between the old and new self growing more pronounced. Small choices revealed it. The impulse to react angrily to an email, the temptation to procrastinate, the familiar pull of self-doubt each time he paused, observed, and chose differently. Letting the new awareness guide him, he realized that change wasn't about erasing the old self completely, but about noticing it, watching it, and letting it dissolve naturally. It was like standing at the edge of a river, observing the current, and realizing that trying to control it only caused resistance, whereas simply being aware allowed the flow to carry him forward. In quiet moments, he saw flashes of his old habits, old fears, even old joys, but now they seemed less permanent, less defining. He could choose which thoughts to follow, which emotions to dwell on, and which patterns to let go. A sense of power emerged, subtle but undeniable, a power to shape his own experience. He remembered reading about quantum consciousness, the idea that observing reality changes it, and it suddenly made sense in a personal way. His awareness felt like a key, unlocking doors that had always been closed, and with each choice, the old self retreated a little more. But it wasn't easy. The old self resisted in small ways, a pang of fear, a doubt about whether this shift was real, a fleeting desire to return to comfort zones. Each moment of awareness became a battle, a delicate balance between surrendering to the old patterns and embracing the new. He began experimenting, testing his focus and attention, observing how his emotions shaped his day, how his choices influenced small events around him. The process was both thrilling and unsettling, revealing the invisible threads connecting his mind, his actions, and the world. By evening, he noticed the difference clearly. The old self was still there, but quieter, less commanding, less certain. It could control his thoughts and actions. He felt lighter, freer, as if a fog had lifted. revealing a path forward. Yet, the shift carried a subtle warning, a whisper in his mind reminding him, awareness alone was not enough. He had to act with intention, to observe carefully, to nurture the new self, consciously. Each decision mattered, each moment of attention shaped the reality he was stepping into, and in that quiet reflection, he realized something extraordinary, something that both thrilled and unsettled him. I am becoming someone new, someone capable of seeing and shaping reality itself. The old self would fade, the new self would rise, and the journey was only beginning. As days passed, he began noticing patterns he had never seen before. The world felt alive, subtle connections revealing themselves in ordinary moments. A leaf drifting on the wind, a bird's song at dawn, even the rhythm of his own heartbeat, all seemed to carry hidden meaning. He recalled the video, and a thought struck him. Perhaps it had shown him more than a strange light or pulsing shapes. Perhaps it had opened a door to a deeper understanding of reality itself. The kind of understanding that philosophers and scientists had hinted at for centuries, but few truly grasped. Curiosity burned inside him. Stronger than ever, he began reading, exploring ideas about consciousness, reality, and human perception. He learned about neuroplasticity, how the brain could reshape itself through attention and awareness. He read about the observer effect in quantum physics, how even watching a particle could change its behavior, and slowly, a pattern emerged in his mind. The connection between science, consciousness, and philosophy became clear. Observing reality, focusing attention, and embracing awareness could actually change the way life unfolded. It was not magic, not illusion, but a subtle and powerful truth. He experimented cautiously, testing his thoughts, observing reactions in small ways. If he focused fully on kindness, he noticed others responding in subtle but real ways. If he let go of fear in a moment of tension, situations seemed to resolve more smoothly. Each test revealed a new layer, a new insight into the unseen forces at work. Yet, with each discovery came a new layer of awe and unease. He felt like he was peeking behind a curtain that few had ever dared to lift, and the view was both beautiful and unsettling, revealing the fragility of old assumptions, the power of attention, and the mysterious way consciousness intertwined with reality. Sometimes he paused, staring at the patterns of light and shadow in his apartment, wondering how much of it was real and how much was shaped by his awareness. But the more he observed, the more he realized it did not matter. The experience itself was real, and it carried its own truth. He recalled the whispers from the video. The old you begins to fade, and now he understood them more deeply. It wasn't just a warning, but an invitation, a guide toward something greater, something that required courage, curiosity, and surrender to the process. He began to see his old habits, fears, and doubts as shadows on the edge of perception, no longer threatening, but informative, teaching him where he had clung too tightly to patterns that no longer served him. Each shadow faded slightly as he observed it without judgment, allowing the new self to step forward. Even ordinary moments became extraordinary. A cup of tea, a conversation with a stranger, the sound of rain on the window, all carried the subtle energy of awareness. He began to sense the invisible threads connecting everything, a delicate web linking mind, world, and action, and in a quiet moment of reflection, he realized something profound. I am no longer just watching life, I am participating in it, consciously, shaping it through attention, choice, and awareness. The veil had lifted, revealing the intricate dance behind reality, but the journey was far from over. He knew that each step forward would demand presence, focus, and courage, and that the true depth of this transformation was only beginning to unfold. By now, he could feel the change not just inside his mind, but in the world around him. The old self, heavy with fear and doubt, had become quieter, and a new clarity guided his thoughts and actions. Every choice seemed sharper, more deliberate. As if he were finally seeing the strings behind reality, he started small, noticing his habits, observing each impulse. Each time an old fear or doubt rose, he paused, breathed, and chose differently. Sometimes it was as simple as responding with calm instead of anger, or acting with courage instead of hesitation. Each small victory felt like a thread being rewoven into a new pattern of being. The world seemed to respond, almost imperceptibly at first. A colleague smiled more easily, a streetlight flickered on as he passed, A forgotten message arrived at the perfect moment. Subtle signs, small confirmations that his awareness was creating ripples beyond himself. He experimented further, intentionally focusing on what he wanted to nurture. Thoughts of gratitude brought warmth, and he noticed moments of joy appearing unexpectedly. Acts of kindness multiplied quietly around him, as if the universe mirrored his attention. Each moment of conscious choice strengthened the new self, making the old self fade more with every breath. He also faced resistance, moments when doubt or old habits tried to return. The impulse to judge, to worry, to resist change still arose, but now he watched them without fear, observed their patterns, and allowed them to dissolve naturally. Like shadows retreating before the morning light, every day became a lesson. Each moment a chance to test the invisible threads connecting consciousness and reality. He felt an energy building inside, subtle but undeniable, a sense that he was participating in life in a way he had never experienced before. Awareness was no longer passive, it was active, shaping everything he touched. He noticed that time itself felt different, more fluid, less rigid. Each day offered opportunities to act with intention, to align thought, emotion, and action. Even the simplest tasks, walking, speaking, working, carried a new resonance, an echo of the transformation taking root. And then came the first profound sign. A situation arose that would have normally triggered fear or frustration, yet, with a new awareness, he handled it with calm, clarity, and creativity. The outcome surprised even him. It unfolded effortlessly, as if the universe itself recognized the shift within him. He realized something extraordinary. This is not just internal change, it is a shift in reality itself. His attention, focus, and presence was shaping the world, making the old limits and fears dissolve. The sensation was liberating, exhilarating, and slightly terrifying all at once. By the evening, he could see it clearly. The old self was no longer in control, merely a quiet echo. The new self, aware, present, and intentional, was taking center stage. Every thought, every breath, every choice carried the weight of possibility. A chance to shape life consciously, and in the quiet reflection of night, he whispered to himself, "I am becoming the new me, and the world around me shifts as I do." The journey of transformation was no longer theoretical or subtle. It was alive, unfolding, and unstoppable. By now, he could feel the full weight of the transformation. The old self, filled with fear, doubt, and hesitation, had retreated almost completely, replaced by a new awareness that was calm, clear, and alive. He looked around at the world, and everything seemed different, not because the world had changed, but because he had changed. His perception, attention, and choice had reshaped his experience, like a lens being polished to reveal hidden colors. Every action he took carried intention, every thought carried awareness. Even ordinary moments, making tea, walking down the street, listening to a friend, felt extraordinary. Each one a reflection of the new self, interacting with reality consciously. He remembered the journey, the first strange pull to watch the video, the subtle shifts, the struggle between old and new self, and the experiments with attention and observation. All of it had led to this moment, where he understood something profound. Change is possible, but only through awareness and choice. He smiled at the reflection in the mirror, and for the first time, he truly recognized himself, not the person shaped by fear, habit, and doubt, but someone alive, intentional, free, a person who could observe, create, and shape reality with focus and presence. The whispers from the video echoed again in his mind. The old you begins to fade, and now he understood fully. It was not a warning, nor a threat, but an invitation, an opportunity to step into a new way of being, to participate consciously in life, to awaken to the power of attention and awareness. He felt a quiet thrill, a deep connection to everything around him. The wind, the sounds, the colors, the rhythm of life itself, all seemed to pulse with meaning. He realized that consciousness was not separate from reality, but a thread woven through it, shaping and being shaped. He thought about the audience, the people who might watch this journey unfold, and he wondered silently, what if they pressed play? What if their old selves began to fade, and they stepped into a new awareness? The thought filled him with awe, hope, and a gentle responsibility. Every choice now felt sacred, every moment a chance to engage fully, to observe, to create. The old fears no longer controlled him, but served as quiet reminders of what he had overcome, guiding him without holding him back. And in that quiet, suspended moment, he realized the truth that had been forming all along. Life is not something that happens to you. It is something you participate in, consciously, moment by moment. The new self was not a goal, but a living practice, unfolding with every breath.